Hello, everyone. Welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host for today, Tabetha Moreto. Our guest today is Samantha Cobb, CEO of AdAlta, a biotech company which is developing a unique range of new drug treatments. She has over 15 years' experience in business development and commercialization of early-stage scientific technologies. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Sam. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Tabetha. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, Sam, please tell the audience more about yourself and the nature of your work.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I'm the CEO of AdAlta. We're an ASX-listed biotech company. We listed on the Australian Stock Exchange in August 2016, but the company's been around for about 10 and a half years. In terms of my background, I'm a scientist by training and have also studied law and really moved into tech transfer straight after my science degree. So transferring technologies out of the academic setting into industry. And AdAlta really started about 10 years ago from a university invention, or the CSIRO. And we discovered at the university a technology which we now call the iBody technology. This is a new generation or next generation antibody discovery platform, or a new way to discover new drugs. We have screened our iBody library and we found our lead candidate for the treatment of fibrosis. So AdAlta at the moment is taking that lead candidate, AD114, into the clinic for the treatment of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
Very interesting. So, Sam, can you please tell us, aside from that, what is your biggest strategy, or what other drugs are you working on nowadays?
Yeah, the real focus of the company, like I mentioned, is AD114, and we'll be in the clinic in the second half of 2018. As a company, we're entirely focused on this product, but we do have some drug discovery with the iBody platform. So we're investigating new drugs, targets or diseases that we can screen the iBody library with to try and identify new candidates that could be used to treat a number of different diseases. But as I mentioned, the real focus for us and our real strategy is to take AD114 into the clinic.
That sounds excellent. So can you tell us, why is this relevant, especially to health professionals?
Yeah, so AD114 is being developed for a disease called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis is a rare disease. It affects about 300,000 people worldwide, about 5,000 people in Australia. And essentially, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis is scarring of the lungs. So you get a buildup of a protein called collagen and inflammatory cells, which cause the lungs to stiffen so that you can no longer breathe. But idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis is essentially a fibrosis or scarring of the lungs. There's a number of other diseases involved that have a scarring component in a number of different organs. So, for example, in the liver, you have a disease called NASH, or non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. In the kidneys, you have kidney fibrosis, also known as chronic kidney disease. And in the eye, age-related macular degeneration, or wet AMD, also has a component of fibrosis. So about 45 to 50% of all deaths have a fibrotic component to them. So understanding fibrosis and, I guess, developing new drugs for the treatment of fibrosis is really critical, and there's a high unmet medical need in a number of these indications.
That sounds very interesting. If you don't mind, Sam, can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah, sure.
Why are you so passionate about biotechnology? What fascinates you about this?
I'm passionate about the science and getting a drug to the clinic. For us, there is a high unmet medical need, but also, I guess, for our shareholders. I'm the CEO of a biotech company, and it's really important for us to deliver an outcome for our shareholders. But delivering something for patients is also very, very exciting for a company.
Very nice. It's good to hear that somebody like you has a passion for science and technology.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about misconceptions. Are there any misconceptions about biotechnology or even about your company that drives you nuts and it keeps you up at night, Sam?
Well, I guess one of the things that's really hard for people to grasp is the time length of product development. So getting to the clinic with an improved product takes a lot of time and a lot of money. As an example, AdAlta, as I mentioned, started about 10 years ago. We identified our lead candidate, AD114, in about 2015. So the first few years of the company were really around developing the technology. And since 2015, we've really been focused on developing this lead candidate, so getting it into animals, showing that it has efficacy, getting it into more animals and showing that it's safe. And then this year, like I mentioned, we'll start our clinical trials with AD114, and there's still a long way between getting into the clinic now and doing some safety studies in healthy volunteers, which will be our first clinical trial. Phase 2 will then be testing it in diseased patients, so patients with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. And so there's a long way between identifying a drug and getting it to the clinic. So you need a lot of patience and a lot of money. And I guess it's really the biggest misconception is that these things probably happen overnight. And, you know, we're funded as an ASX-listed company by shareholders that are very, very patient. It takes a long time for these things to happen.
Thank you for clearing up those misconceptions. And that's true. I agree with you that making sure that drugs are tested and making sure that the finished product is good for consumption takes a really long time and it's really expensive. So it's a good thing that people like you are out there in order to explain these things.
Yes. I think the more that we can talk about the drug development process and I guess educate people about what those trials look like and how long it takes, I think the better off the community will be, because we all have a need for drugs as we get older. And a lot of the diseases we're looking at, age-related macular degeneration, NASH, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, they're all diseases that happen to the elderly.
Yes, thank you so much, Sam, for explaining that. I would love to talk to you more, but we're running out of time. But before we go, Sam, what is your main takeaway message to all of our listeners out there?
I would like to say that idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, the disease that we're working in, is a very interesting area. I'd suggest that people have a look in it in a lot more detail in terms of understanding the unmet medical need and what this means to patients. So their average lifespan is about 2 to 3 years, and how important it is for companies like AdAlta to be developing new products that address that need.
Excellent message, Sam. Now, for those who want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so our website, www.adalta.com.au, has information about our platform technology, the iBody. It has information about our lead candidate, AD114, but it also has an inquiries button where you can send an inquiry to the company if you've got a question about what we do or where we can help you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
No problem. Thanks, Tabetha.
And that was Sam Cobb, CEO of AdAlta. If you like this interview, transcripts and archives are available at www.hpr.fm. We're on all social media platforms, so don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. Show us some love by subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're also available for download on SoundCloud and iTunes. I'm Tabetha Moreto, and you're listening to Health Professional Radio.